Hello everyone, I am Rajeshwari Moganty, Professor in the Department of Biochemistry at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Now, the atomic structure is, I would like to give some introduction before we actually go into the details. Now, it is very well known that all the substances in nature are comprised of smallest indivisible particles, which we call actually as atoms. Now, atom is the smallest component of any chemical element that can exist alone or in any combination with any other atoms. However, it still retains all the characteristics of any element, of that particular element. And in 1808, Dalton has proposed that the matter was made of extremely small individual particles called atom. That was the first time he proposed that atom exists. Now, because in Greek it actually means that to cut it into smaller divisions, it is called atom. However, now there are a lot of developments in understanding the structure of the atom, which came with time, and so many scientists have contributed to this, like J.J. Thomson, Goldstein, Rutherford, Chadwick, Bohr. I mean, all of them have extremely talented and extremely important contributions that they have made. Whereas in late 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, they have actually established what is an atom and the invisible particle, but it had a different kind of complex structure of its own. Now, we at the time now know that at least subatomic particles, there are at least 35, and the number of atoms are actually every day going on adding to the new these things. Now, as we know that there is electron, proton, neutron. Now, the work done by J.J. Thomson in 1887 and Milken in 1977, they have actually first given that the charge and mass of an electron and the fundamental particle which carries 1 unit negative charge and has a mass of 1/1837 of a hydrogen atom, that is the electron. Now, since atom is actually wholly electrically neutral, there has to be some positive charge to make it neutral. Therefore, in 1886, Goldstein actually did some experiments and to search for the positively charged particles in the atoms. Now, initially he does not know how to name it, so he made it as anode ray because it carried the positive charge and reached the anode. And now basically later on it is defined as a proton, which is a fundamental particle which has 1 unit positive charge and has a mass equivalent to that of hydrogen atom. And therefore, the mass of a proton is 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 24 grams. Now, after we have established that there is an electron, there is a proton in the atom, the next question comes. What is the question that we have to answer? That is, how are these arranged within the atom? We know electrons, protons. Now, in 1904, J.J. Thomson proposed a very simple model. At that time, it was really simple. What he said that the atom was actually a sphere of positive charge and electricity is distributed along them, around it. But then they are neutralized with the positive charge. But then stability of the atom cannot be explained as a result of balance between the repulsive force of the electrons and the attraction force towards the center of the positive sphere. This is what he proposed. It is a very basic concept. However, in 1911, the model was rejected because Rutherford, while doing the scattering experiments on the particles, in his model proposed that the first time there is a thing called nucleus in the atom besides protons and electrons. Now, secondly, he also explained that electrons present in the nucleus were not stationary, but they are all the time revolving around the nucleus in circular orbits, so that they do not fall into the nucleus, otherwise ultimately they fall and then the molecule atom dies. So, the experiments later by Chadwick in 1932, they have clearly showed that the presence of the neutron, which may be defined as a fundamental particle, actually carries no charge. It has no charge and has a mass is actually that of the proton, so that it can actually nullify. Therefore, the Rutherford model later actually modified by later on, that proposed that the atom contains not only protons but also neutrons. The objective is to understand the electron, proton and their characteristics in more detail, and then also understand what is Rutherford model, Bohr model, and how Bohr model has explains the atomic structure. Then what is EMR, electromagnetic radiation, Planck's quantum theory. Then also I explain what is a photoelectric effect and describe the atomic spectra. And later in the last part, we will be discussing the de Broglie equation and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which is very famous. So, the first part is to first understand what is atomic number. When you talk about an atom, it has to have its own characteristics, atomic number as well as mass. These are the two parameters that describes any atom. So, these are denoted by the electron mass is the m and then the charge as z, that explain the charge can be positive or could be a neutral, a negative. The mass of a proton is equal to that of a mass of a neutron, as I explained earlier, but the mass of the electron is only 1 by 1/837 of the mass of a proton. Therefore, the atomic mass is actually contributed by protons and neutrons, and therefore we call it collectively nucleons. And the difference is the neutron number, that is the neutrons. Now, the notation we use here is to summarize atomic number and nuclear composition, which we call it as EZXN, and where X represents element, whichever element and that atom belongs, and therefore the relative atomic mass. The absolute mass of an atom is too small, therefore the quantity that we shall express is, for example, atomic mass of silver is 1.79 into 10 to the power minus 22 grams, and that of hydrogen is actually 1.672 into 10 to the power minus 24 grams. Therefore, in practice, in reality, relative mass, which we call it as a relative to that of a hydrogen atom. Now, for example, carbon has isotopes 12 as well as 14. Now, similarly, the second aspect is the black body radiation, which and the Planck's equation, quantum theory. Now, earlier it was assumed that actually the energy change in a system takes place in a continuous manner, but it was not possible to explain the energy distribution of radiation emitted by a black body at a particular temperature. Therefore, in 1901, the Max Planck introduced the concept that increase or decrease in any energy does not occur in a continuous manner, but in a discrete manner. So, the separation between the energy of various groups of oscillators is given by E equal to h nu. Now, the Planck put forward these three to explain the phenomena of black body radiation and also the photoelectric effect. This is known by his name, the Planck's quantum equation or the Planck equation theory. Now, then later it was extended by Einstein in 1905. Now, basically this, according to this theory, the light is made of discrete particles called photons, and these properties are like interference, diffraction pattern. All this can be explained by the wave nature. Therefore, the hydrogen spectrum series spectrum of the hydrogen can be explained based on the Balmer, who discovered that the precise frequencies and wavelengths of the light that are produced in the spectrum of hydrogen could be described by a simple equation. Now, that actually involves a constant and an integer. Now, we will study the Bohr's model. Okay. Now, so far whatever we studied, the Rutherford's model has actually fundamental drawback in that. Now, according to Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, the electron is continuously losing its energy while revolving around the nucleus. Therefore, what should happen? The orbit size gradually should decrease and eventually the electron should fall into the nucleus. Therefore, eventually the atom should collapse, right? But it doesn't happen like that. So, in 1930, Niels Bohr actually gave a revolutionary paper on this hydrogen atom, and he discovered that the major laws of the special lines, that hydrogen spectra has been explained very well. Now, this actually has earned Niels Bohr 1922 Nobel Prize in Physics. Now, this model has four basic principles. Number one, the electrons assumes only certain orbits around the nucleus, unlike the Rutherford model, and these orbits are called stationary orbits, stable and stationary. Now, the second assumption or the theory explains is that each orbit has its own energy associated with it. For example, orbit closest to the nucleus has highest energy and the next one has a lesser energy, and so on and so forth. The farther away the nucleus, the lesser the energy. Now the third assumption in the Bohr's model is that light is emitted whenever an electron jumps from a higher orbit to a lower orbit, and similarly light is absorbed when it jumps from a lower to a higher orbit. Now the last assumption is that energy and frequency of the light emitted or absorbed is given between the difference between the two orbital energy changes. Okay. So these represent the final and initial orbits, first and last. Now with these four conditions, Bohr was able to explain the stability of the atoms as well as the emission spectrum of hydrogen very well. Now according to this Bohr model's theory, certain orbits were allowed, which means only certain energies are possible. Now these energies actually explain the lines of the hydrogen atom spectrum. So the Bohr's model was perfect as far as the hydrogen atom structure is concerned, but it could not explain the line spectra of multi-electron atoms. For one, it is fine for hydrogen, and therefore it was unable to explain the splitting of the lines in the magnetic fields, which also called the Zeeman effect, and in the electric field, which is the Stark effect, and also the shapes of the molecules it could not explain. So there came the dual nature of light. Now the light rays have both electrical and magnetic component or the magnetic properties. And therefore, these are called normally electromagnetic radiation. Now, it has also shown that electromagnetic radiation has a dual character, namely that of a wave as well as a particle. So, the duality comes from nature of the wave as well as the particle. Now, in terms of these two theories, keeping in view of these two theories, the Einstein actually proposed the dual character of the light in 1905. Now, according to this theory, the radiant energy is emitted or absorbed not continuously but discontinuously in the form of small discrete packets of energy, which he called as quantum, or the quantum of energy is also called a photon or a one quantum. Now, the second one is the frequency and wavelength are related each other by the relation, and also that explains that the velocity of the light as well as the commonly used units which are used in, excuse me, ये ना आपका इक्वेशंस भी नहीं आता, सारा गड़बड़ हो रही है, ये कैसी. So in 1927, the German physicist Heisenberg, which has proposed an uncertainty principle. Now this uncertainty principle actually states that it is impossible to know both the exact position and velocity of an object at the same time. Now the position is located on the particle and the momentum is the mass multiplied by its velocity. Should be noted that here the photons are considered as waves rather than particles. So to observe any particle, smaller particles, that is the smallest possible quantity of light, must first be reflected off it. To find both position and momentum, for example, say an electron, okay, at least one photon must be utilized. Therefore, the photon bounces off the electron, then reflects back to the measuring device. So therefore, if you can write momentum equal to mass into velocity. So for an electron has a momentum P equal to m into v. Now where P is the momentum and m is the mass and v is the velocity. Now when one photon bounces off the electron's momentum will therefore be changed. Therefore the electron's momentum will therefore be changed. Okay. Now the change in the electron's momentum is uncertain and therefore will be of same order or the magnitude of the photon's momentum. Now if there is an increase in the photon's wavelength, that leads to a decrease in the frequency and therefore a decrease in the energy it carries. So therefore in both terms, both in terms of the position and the momentum, therefore there is an uncertainty in its momentum that is smaller. However, the larger particles, if you take, the percentage of uncertainty in the measurements of position and momentum is insignificant. However, the photon of light cannot measure the electron's position, that is x, with perfect accuracy. Considering that if you consider the photon light is a wave, to increase the accuracy in position of the measurement, a photon with a much smaller wavelength has to be used. Therefore, the smaller the wavelength of the light, the higher the frequency and therefore higher its energy. Therefore, on collision with electron, it will change its momentum and therefore a relatively larger amount, that means the momentum is less accurately determined. So when the position is more actually determined, you have momentum less accurately determined. So the opposite is also true. If the momentum is more accurately determined, the position must be less accurately determined. Therefore, an estimate of the position of the particle is at least one photon wavelength from the original position. Therefore, the uncertainty in position and momentum will always be there. The wavelength, the greater the accuracy in the measurement of the position, but as the wavelength of the photon gets shorter, what happens? Its frequency increases. Therefore, according to this equation, E equal to h nu, the greater its frequency, the greater its energy, the greater the change in the momentum when it collides with say particular particle. Okay. So, that is the momentum of the electron has greater uncertainty when using the photons with a smaller wavelength. That is the principle. So, the opposite is also true. Now, this uncertainty principle can be easily explained, understood if you look at the application in a microscope, the principle behind the electron microscope. Okay. Now, if you see the experimental arrangement of by the gamma ray microscope imagined by the Heisenberg to verify the uncertainty principle. For example, consider an electron moving in x direction, one direction. Its position and momentum is to be determined with the help of a high resolving power microscope. Now, but according to the theory of diffraction, the resolving limit of the microscope, that is the minimum lateral distance which can be just resolved by the microscope, is given by what? Is given as the equation which we show it as resolving limit. Okay. Now, since the resolving limit, so with that we will conclude with the uncertainty principle, and now I summarize in this module the atomic, what we have studied is atomic number of any chemical level element, which is also the proton number, and the number of protons found in the nucleus of an atom of that element. Therefore, the identical to the charge, the number of the charge of the nucleus. Okay. Now, it's conveniently we represent it as a symbol Z. Now, the second one is a black body radiation, which is an idealized object which absorbs and emits at all frequencies. Now, this also you have been it has been explained. Now, the classical physics can be used actually to derive the equation which describes the intensity of the black body radiation as a function of frequency for a fixed temperature at a particular temperature. Okay. Now, this result is actually called the Rayleigh-Jeans law. Now, the third one is when a black body is heated, it emits thermal radiations at different wavelengths or the frequency. Now, to explain these radiations, Max Planck has put forward a theory known as a Planck's quantum theory, which is also covered in this module. Now, the radiant energy which is emitted or absorbed by the black body is not continuous, but it is a discontinuous in the form of small discrete pockets or the packets of energy, which we call it as quanta, or in singular it is called quantum. Okay. Now, in case of the light, the quantum energy we also call as photon, one photon. Now, lastly, the energy of each quantum, okay, is discretely proportional to its frequency nu of the radiation. Therefore, E equal to h nu, right. Now, h is the Planck's constant. These are all the fundamentals what we studied in this module. Now, the total amount of energy emitted or absorbed by any body, which is some whole number of quanta. Therefore, E equal to n into h nu, because h nu is one quanta. Therefore, if there are n, which is an integer, it could be any number. Now, lastly, the emission spectrum of the atomic hydrogen is divided into number of spectral lines, which can be explained by the Rydberg formula, and also the Bohr model could be explained. Now, these observed spectral lines are due to the electron making transitions between energy levels in the atom. Now, the energy difference between each levels in the Bohr's model has been called between the energies differences are explained, and these wavelengths emitted or absorbed in the photon is given by the Rydberg formula. So, of course, where n is upper energy and n can be n2 or n1 when there is a lower energy level, and r is a Rydberg constant. So, with this we will conclude this module, and I hope you have understood the basics of this Bohr model and uncertainty principle particularly, which is has a lot of applications. And thank you.